If you're thinking, I should go for a run today, but it looks like it could rain, Sierra says save on epic rain jackets. If you're also thinking, but I can't go out in these beat-up old running shoes, Sierra says save on top brand running shoes. And if you're still thinking, but I'm also busy performing brain surgery, well, then we say, you really should have led with that. Sierra, let's get moving to your local store, like now. Go!
Regular listeners know that I'm a big fan of mountain biking at night, and having a reliable bright light is crucial. Glowworm is a mountain bike light brand founded almost a decade ago by two mountain bikers in New Zealand, and today the company offers some of the most customizable, highest quality bike lights on the market. Glowworm's complete line of lights start at 1200 lumens and range up to a blinding 3400 lumens, all at reasonable prices. There are a few things Glowworm does differently that makes their lights unique and highly customizable. The optics can be swapped at home depending on the types of trails you ride, and their lights use standard GoPro style and quarter-turn mounts. Many of the lights work with a bar-mounted remote, which can be used to control one or more lights at once. Right now, Glowworm is offering 20% off all light systems on their website with the coupon code SingleTracks19. Go to glowwormlights.co.nz, that's G-L-O worm, L-I-T-E-S.co.nz, or click the link in the show notes to take advantage of this offer. The next time you're shopping for mountain bike gear, check out singletracks.com/deals. Each week we share our favorite product picks and exclusive coupon codes from our partners. You can also use the page to search for whatever you're buying, from complete mountain bikes to brake sets and tire sealant. That's singletracks.com/deals. And to get our weekly picks delivered to your inbox, be sure to sign up for our newsletter. Links to the newsletter and deals page are in the show notes. Hey everybody, welcome to the Single Tracks podcast. My name is Jeff, and today my guest is Ryan Leech. Ryan is a mountain bike trials rider who has starred in many mountain bike films over the years, and he's performed live in front of audiences around the world. He's also a mountain bike skills coach and trainer, offering online programs covering topics like wheelies, cornering, and jumping. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Yeah, you bet. No, really glad to be here.
So, how did you get started in mountain biking?
Yeah, I was a teenager, early teens, and like most people who start mountain biking, fun.
Yeah.
That's and sure enough, it was fun. However, because it was such a long time ago now when I did start it, the sport was really still tiny. There wasn't a lot of mountain bikers out there, and so I actually didn't know that I was mountain biking. I was just riding my bike in the forest across the street from where I grew up, splashing through puddles and stuff. And it wasn't until I saw a magazine in a store, a mountain biking magazine, that I was like, hey, that's what I'm doing. So I studied that magazine cover to cover, read everything over and over. And, I was hooked.
Yeah, cool. And where did you grow up? You're in BC now. Is that where you got started?
Yeah, I grew up in BC, close to Vancouver, in the suburb, and North Shore was close by, and just endless trails to go explore. So I was fortunate to have my stomping ground, here in BC. It's
it's a great place.
Certainly shapes a lot of pro rider careers. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So what kind of sort of disciplines were you interested in early on? And how did that transition to trials riding? Like you said, you didn't know you were mountain biking. Did you know then that you were trials riding, or was that something that looked interesting to you? Or how did you make that transition?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I got into it and it was like, okay, people who mountain bike, they race cross country, they race downhill. And so that's what I got into. It just happened to be that the forest that I practiced in they always had a ton of blowdowns, like logs across the trail. And so that was one of the things that I ended up getting really good at, was riding and hopping over logs. And it was during sort of my racing stint that I happened across a trials show from some local trials riders, Team Orb, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. That's kind of like what I do over the logs. And so again, it was like I'm going to do that. And I also then found some Hans Ray videos and Ott Pi videos and was studying those. And I was practicing in between my training sessions for cross country. And eventually the cross country training went to the wayside and all of my attention began focused on trials riding. So, yeah. And that was like, and then trials became my career for over 20 years as a pro.
Yeah. Wow. Did the trials start out? I mean, did you do a lot of building of obstacles and things, or was this more just you developed the skills to tackle sort of natural terrain that was in your way?
Both. So the cool thing about trials riding is that you can really practice anywhere. Like in your neighborhood, there's always parks with ledges and rocks and things to kind of hop and bounce on and experiment with and play with. And in fact, for even if you're not into trials, just any mountain biker, I highly encourage them to go to your local park and mess around, just play about, have some fun. That's really where a lot of incredibly valuable skills are developed that are often a lot harder to develop when you're just riding trail. Mm-hmm. So I ended up taking over my parents' front and backyards by building a whole bunch of obstacles, like different wooden stunts. And I collected pallets and spools and balance beams and log rounds. And I just created a full playground. So grateful for my parents that they allowed that, because as they said, it's like, well, I guess that paid off for you.
Right.
So
yeah, that's really cool. So you started out, you were doing these like trials competitions and things. How'd you end up starring in mountain bike movies?
So I mean, again, like getting into trials, it was like, okay, doing trials, and okay, now what's next? I guess it's to go to a trials competition. Mm-hmm. And so that was part of my journey into the development of those skills. And it happened that I got pretty good. And so I was invited to join a demo team to put on shows and perform and entertain at different events. So I started doing that as a teenager as well. I was like 16 by the time I was doing my first trial show.
Wow.
And so, that led to some sponsorship, and sponsorship led to a little more notoriety, and that led to people noticing me and mm-hmm. being invited on film shoots. And so that was kind of the trickle effect, kind of like anything, you just gradually, if it's going to work out, you just kind of, the right opportunity shows up at the right time and you follow it if it's meant to be. And it was meant to be. So I, got the start of being featured in DVDs, VHS originally, and then
right.
the DVDs, a whole series of, that's how we consumed mountain bike media back then. We waited for a year before the new feature film came out.
Right.
And so I was lucky to have segments in a lot of those original mountain bike movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what was the most challenging aspect riding in a film? Was that different than doing it in, say, a competition or like in front of an audience?
Yeah, for me, I really enjoyed the creative style of trials riding, and much more than competition. So I pretty quickly gave up competition and just focused on more fun, creative, entertaining kind of riding.
Yeah.
And so, that favored really well for video segments. And the challenge always for filming videos is, it takes time to collect all those key lines.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess the upside is you can fail, right? I mean, you can try a thing until you get it. You only have to get it once and get it on film. But then I guess the downside is you're doing things that are more difficult, potentially more risky, I guess.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you actually say the downside. It's interesting you use those words. You chose those words. Mm-hmm. I'd like to hear more about that. Actually, I mean, I have my own theory and ideas. It's been a huge theme of my career to deal with the fact that I'm making a living by taking risks.
Right.
And the definition of a pro rider, especially in the sort of free ride or even downhill, any of these disciplines, is that pro riders are the ones who are able to ride this razor edge between complete disaster and pushing the boundaries.
Right.
So they're able to consistently push boundaries without killing themselves.
Right.
Right. And so the tragic thing is that there's a whole pool of riders that have wrecked themselves in their quest to become pro, especially with the higher risk styles of riding, more the big mountain, anything with big air is right up there with a lot of carnage.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people who you never hear about kind of dealing with, catastrophic and just a huge list of injuries at a young age. So anyway, I could go on, that's a big topic for me.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm always interested to understand that, especially from professional athletes like yourself. And, we've interviewed mountain bike filmmakers as well to hear sort of their side. Do they feel like they're pushing athletes to do things that are risky or not? And yeah, it's fascinating, especially for those of us who don't do this for a living.
Yeah. Again, it's like, it's a combination. We're in this thing together. It's not the filmmaker per se that is pressuring the rider.
Not sponsors. Sponsors, I could see that too. You got to make a name for yourself and please them.
So it's a combo. Yeah, totally. It's a combo. So it's like the combination of the filmmaker, the rider, the sponsors, the audience, the notoriety. All these things are combined together to result in choices to ride certain stunts and lines that wouldn't be ridden otherwise.
Right.
If there wasn't the competition, if there wasn't this feature film, if there wasn't the incentive to make money, if there wasn't the chance to meet really cool people, if you get successful and to be in this crowd, these are all they're all amazing things. You got to take these risks to get there, which is really...
Was it stressful? Was it stressful for you in those years when you were doing these films and tours and things?
Yeah, it became stressful for sure. Especially when, I began to realize that I was part of this, this was my job. Like when it's like, this is my job. Like there was a phase early on where it's like, I'm just so excited exploring what my bike and my body is capable of and the decisions that kind of came along with that, exploring sort of the thrill and the adrenaline and exploring my own limits based on my own curiosity that was sort of inherent in this exploration of, our bike, body, mind. And so, that led to being in the spotlight, and that led to a creation of momentum forward that I began to be influenced by this ongoing need to continue doing what I've done and to continue doing what I've done, but even better, and to continue this cycle of one-upmanship. It was at times stressful, and at times it was like, I was doing things that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And I was doing lines over and over again to get just the right shot or the right photo. And those are things that I wouldn't do otherwise.
Right. Yeah. Well, was there a point where you stepped back and looked into the future and said, man, if I keep doing this, how am I going to continue? How can I continue one-upping myself?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, that was where, I was pretty awake in I was a pro for 20 years because I did challenge those things. I was fairly quick to adjust my decisions and my riding style in such a way that razor edge I was walking or riding along for either disaster or fame, I kept consistently in a realm that was not way above my confidence level. So I was able to consistently find really entertaining challenging lines that were of low risk. And like a good example is like I did a few like train track segments where I'd balance along a train track and do really technical moves on a train track. And that's low consequence. And it was one of, that was the cool thing I discovered was like, hey, cool, I can have one of the most memorable segments in a film, and all I have to do is do some really technical things just a few inches off the ground. Whereas some of the other riders in the film were like doing these massive big gap jumps and having a lot more injury than I did. I was pretty fortunate to not really get too injured through my career. And yoga was part of that as well. Like that was, it brought some really important awareness to my body and what my body was trying to communicate to me in terms of the decisions I needed to make in my riding career. So,
yeah, right on. Well, yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about yoga and sort of that transition. Before we move on, you also performed in Cirque du Soleil's La Nouba show in the late 90s and early 2000s. What was that like?
Well, yeah, I mean, a cool experience for sure. A really cool experience. I'm grateful to have had a stint there. It was a total of 6 months that I performed for them off and on, because I was a substitute rider for someone who'd been injured a few times in the show. And so, more repetitive strain style injuries, but there was one breakage just from, just a freak kind of thing. But anyway, it was, I would not want to do that job full time because it's so repetitive. It's just, you have to do the exact same moves every day, 2 times a day, 5 days a week. And it was, it just squashed any creativity. It's funny because Cirque du Soleil, it seems like such a creative show, but for the people performing in it, it's just automatic. It's just, the same every time. And, sure, you can put spirit and energy and whatnot through that performance, but there doesn't leave a lot of room for playing and creativity, which is something that I was able to bring to the trial shows that I performed all over the place. There was so much more life and energy that, I could interact with the audience and try different lines and have some fun. And it was, definitely something that I preferred.
Yeah. Well, one of the tours that you actually put together was called Trials of Life, that would go out and you would do this in front of high school students, I guess, right? So what motivated you to reach out to teenagers sort of in this way?
I'd done a lot of psychological work and a lot of thinking about living a healthy, positive lifestyle and also dealing with challenges that arise in life. And, I learned a lot about that through my early career as a pro. And so I always had a lot of teenagers and even younger kids. I kind of did middle school through high school. That was my focus. And so, I did a couple hundred presentations to share this. It was tricky because it's like, the follow your dream thing is a tricky one. And that's not what I was doing. It wasn't like I was saying, look at me. If you want it bad enough and you practice enough, you'll become a pro too, which is not, that's not the reality because it's a very unique position.
Yeah. A lot of it's luck, it seems like.
Well, yeah. Right timing. It's right circumstances. It's privilege. It's, all these factors have to come together, like where you grow up, and so I was exploring those type of real topics with the students and sharing, for instance, that, for me, I had to experiment and explore and try a lot of different things until I stumbled across mountain biking. And, I was, nothing really got me excited until I got mountain biking. And, mountain biking is the thing that changed my life in terms of being shy, for instance. I talked about that in my presentation. I was chronically shy. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't really have many friends. And it was through mountain biking and performing trial shows that I ended up having to talk on the microphone in front of audiences. So I developed this whole new skill set. And so it's like, yeah, who you are now is not necessarily informing who you're going to be in the future. It's like, no, the possibilities of growth and learning and transformation are incredible once you do catch on to something that is inspiring and motivating and exciting for you, no matter what that is, whether it's art or sports or, photography, video, politics, whatever it is. So, but exploring and trying things and then practicing and developing those faculties are kind of what I attempted to communicate.
Yeah, that sounds really cool and really motivational. So are you still doing many trials shows these days, or have you kind of put that in the past?
Put that in the past. It's after thousands of shows, I was done.
Yeah.
And, it's not to say that if there's not a cool event that comes up that I won't do a trial show and perform again. Because, for instance, the last trial show I did was a super special one because it was 3 generations of trials riders. It was at the IMBA World Summit.
Oh.
And it was so Hans Ray, who was a generation before me, and then it was myself, sort of the middle generation, and then it was Danny McCaskill, who is obviously sort of the latest generation, although there's pretty quick there, there's already sort of the next generation evolving from Danny. But anyway, having those three generations together was really cool. And so like Hans was at that show. So who knows, maybe I'll be the elder generation in a trial show in a number of years, somewhere cool. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, that's great that you're still able to do a lot of those same moves and things. And you mentioned a little bit about how yoga has helped you, I guess, both physically and mentally. And we did a story recently. Matt Miller got together with you to talk about some yoga poses and things that might be helpful to mountain bikers. So can you talk a little bit about the types of injuries that you sort of had during your career and how yoga helps with that? Sure.
I mean, having and dealing with an injury can be the motivation for trying yoga. Recovering may be something that your physiotherapist or a friend suggests, hey, give yoga a try. It'll help you, gain that range of motion back or something along those lines. So however you get into yoga, it's like, for me, it was my wrists and my elbow and shoulders were fairly strained from different crashes and torques that I experienced, landing in different ways and whatnot. And so yeah, that brought me to yoga. I wasn't able to be in a push-up position. I had to use my fists because, my wrists were kind of immobilized. They weren't capable of the full range just from the way I was pushing myself. So anyway, yoga was something that I went to from a friend's suggestion. And for me, it was, wow, this is really challenging. There's, a lot to learn here. And so that got me excited. It's like, oh, wow, I want to explore this some more. And so initially it was sort of that challenge. And it was this instant realization that, oh yeah, this part of my body hurts. I need to work on, that range. And so I was starting to learn about my body and become aware of different parts of my body in a much more intimate way. And, a lot of different sort of movement-based exercise programs that have awareness mixed in, like some martial arts can be that way. And, like a Pilates or whatnot. Those are really powerful practices. I highly encourage every mountain biker to have some sort of body-based practice that brings the combination of breathing and awareness in, because we need to move our bodies in all of the different ranges, every joint, so our bodies remember that it's available to them.
Yeah. Well, so, it sounds like, for one, it sounds like you were able to kind of reverse some of this overuse damage, if you will, to your body through yoga, which I think is encouraging for a lot of people who maybe think, oh, I have bad knees, or I have, this or that, and it's just going to get worse, or it's not going to get any better. So that's really encouraging. And also, yeah, I'm curious to know how it's changed your riding once you started doing yoga.
Yeah, absolutely. It allowed me to have a much higher level of self-care for my body. It's like I was aware that certain riding risks or stunts I did not feel good on my body. Mm-hmm. And I had to listen. I was able to begin listening to those messages a lot more honestly. And so based on that, it transformed the risks, the certain decisions I made about what stunts I was going to ride. And it also inspired a much more stylish and smooth kind of riding, because I continued to develop my skill set, and it was smooth riding allows for less impact on the body, a tighter technique. So that gradual progression of skill was something that I also was able to develop much more readily, just because I was more self-aware of my body. So
yeah, interesting. Well, these days you seem much more focused on coaching and sort of passing your skill set along to others. And I want to talk more about that in depth, but I read that you started coaching other riders at a pretty early age. So how did you get into that? And was that ever like awkward? Were you coaching like people who are much older than you?
Oh, totally. I was just a teenager when I started coaching.
Yeah.
I was like 16. Yeah. When I started did my first coach training program. And so I was, coaching. There was never anyone really that was younger than me. I did kids camps and stuff like that, but, lots of adults and lots of private clinics. People, especially as I began to get more well-known, people would seek me out and ask for private clinics, or I do group clinics, and then I do specific kind of skills like balance clinics and whatnot. So it's been a theme throughout my entire career is coaching. I did a series, early on there was a TV show called The Ride Guide, and I did a series of how-to videos for that show, and produced a DVD called Mastering the Art of Trials, which was all instructional. And so, it's been a really great theme through my career, and I'm stoked to be able to translate all the things I've learned over such a long period of time into this online learning platform, which is, just doing, that's completely transformed how I coach as well, having this technology available to offer the wisdom that I've collected in a way that's actually digestible, that people can work with over time, and not just get spewed all of this knowledge over like a day or two of a clinic and sort of like, okay, see ya, never see ya again. It's like I develop a relationship, and my coach team develops relationships with the people going through the programs, and these people going through the programs are in it for, months, year, 2, 3. Some have been on the website for 4 years, and have just gradually been working through all of the content, because there's a ton of content there too. So it's like they can just learn at a natural pace and a natural rhythm, learn just like, it's like, okay, everyone on the site is educated to know that, hey, there's no shortcuts, there's no quick fixes, there's no magic formula that will instantly allow you to do, a certain move. It's like, no, this is, you got to do your homework. You got to log the time, but hey, here's the formula. Here are the gradual steps and drills that you can engage with that will help allow you to develop these techniques and skills and style in a gradual and safe way.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I was going to ask you sort of how it's different from some of the other skills classes and coaching programs. Right off the bat, it sounds like, I think a lot of us are familiar with these like weekend skills camps or, one-day camps, and those seem to be really popular with a lot of riders, but it sounds like what you're offering is more of a long-term approach to, really building these skills over time, and there is no quick fix.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so, the in-person coaching, as I've done through my career, it has many pluses and things that can be done that can't be done online. But I see the in-person as a maybe as needed addition to the core online platform. Like that's the consistent sort of necessary foundation for learning. And then as needed, you go to do an in-person. And so it's cool that it's not just, it's not just passively watching a video. It's like, there's a video, there's an assignment in the video, there's a written section to reinforce it and speak about the lesson, perhaps in some different language. And then there's the community aspect, the comment section below each lesson, where students can submit their questions or submit their practice video for precise feedback. And so that whole process is incredibly powerful for students who are willing to actually do the work and do the practice. It's like, and it's also like, it's not, it's promotion for my site. Yes. But the reality is that it's the best value for learning skills out there. It's like, $19 a month, and the people who engage it are getting so much value. The people who are utilizing the coach team, because they've got a private coach anytime they want. They just have to ask the question. And so there's a bunch of people that are highly engaged. That there's a component of people that are averagely engaged, and then there's a number of people that are more passively engaged. And so the combination, in a membership style business, is that it all equals out to allow me to make enough money to provide this service to a lot of people and provide really great value. So
yeah, it's like you said, that this is the time when sort of those technologies finally exist, and it sounds like you're leveraging sort of everything that's available to do something that's new and that's innovative, and it seems like it's working well. And I know Matt is planning to review the 30-day wheelie program that you offer on your site. Is that a pretty popular program for you? And if so, like what do riders expect to get out of that when it comes to learning to ride a wheelie?
Yeah. So, that's the most sort of romantic and exciting course. That was the very first course that I launched, actually. And, it's like, that's 30 lessons. And, now I've got 600 lessons on the website, spanning pretty much every technique and skill you can imagine. Not to mention all of the physical fitness, the yoga content, and the, mental fitness. So the wheelie challenge, people can expect that it's a 30 lesson wheelie challenge. It's not 30 consecutive days, and it's going to take work. It's going to take practice. You're going to get frustrated.
Yeah.
This is not the magic fix. And there's a huge component of the course, or a large component at the very beginning, where there's homework that requires you to really acknowledge the fact that, hey, this is a serious challenge. This is going to be hard. And, here are the ways that, here are some of the things that people end up, some of the excuses people have, we acknowledge those up front.
How long did it take you to learn how to do a wheelie? From like the time, I'm sure you're a teenager or a kid and you said, I want to do a wheelie. How long did it take you?
Yeah, I remember it was something that I truly believed I wasn't capable of. I had this belief that no matter what I did, I wasn't going to be able to learn how to wheelie.
Wow.
And I tried and tried. I remember as a teenager, and I got some support from a couple of the other mountain bikers who already knew how to do it, and so they showed me a few things and gave me some tips. And so I just kept at it, kept plugging away, and had the odd experience of, oh, that felt cool, that felt right, that felt good. And so I just I kept plugging away consistently over time, and eventually I got it. It was probably the span of couple years or something like that, of on and off practice. So yeah, this is definitely, the 30-day wheelie challenge is definitely a potent dose of teaching, and riders can expect to spend multiple days on certain lessons, where they end up getting stuck. And that's where the coach team is on hand and on call to help them work through that challenge and that struggle, and to help give that encouragement to say, hey, this is just part of the process. Try this, work on this, and let us know how it goes. And then, they get on to the next lesson. And
what are some of the other skills that people seem to be most interested in learning beyond wheelies?
Well, I always encourage people to engage the baseline balance skills course, and so that's slow speed balance skills, track stands, hopping and rocking. And it's not the end result in this course or any course. Like wheelies, for instance, learning to wheelie, that's the icing on the cake, but it's all of the steps, all of the drills and lessons in that course and in the balance course that are incredibly valuable for overall bike body mind connection and intimacy development with the bike and awareness with the bike. And so even like the bunny hop course, the bunny hop masterclass or the manual masterclass, it's these gradual steps and lessons that are each lesson in and of itself is an end result. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a very holistic approach, which is cool. And it, it sounds too like you're kind of borrowing some of this concept from yoga again, that it's the connection between the two, the mind and the body, and sort of pulling it all together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I studied as an integral coach. I've got my certification as a integral master coach. And that was a pretty intense program. And that was based more around life and business coaching, performance coaching, not specific to any sport, but the concepts that I learned about the holistic nature of the body, mind, soul, spirit, how they all combine, community, has informed how I've developed the content and also the website. So yeah, definitely you're picking up right that it's more of a holistic kind of program. And that's why I encourage the membership, because it provides that full taste, that full experience of being able to jump from one course to the next. Like sometimes we suggest, hey, you're at this point in this course, but it's going to serve you well to work on lesson 1 through 8 in this other course before you come back. Mm-hmm. That'll help to you develop and round out your skill set in this other area that's going to serve you to continue, say, the manuals or whatever it might be, jumping. So
yeah, that's really cool. So over the years, I'm sure you've had the opportunity to ride a lot of trails in a lot of different places. What are some of your favorites that you've ridden?
Oh man, I mean, I love the desert. I love Arizona and Utah. I love rock. I love technical slow speed trails that have a variety of creative line choices. I can get playful. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I love that. But, obviously, like living in BC, you can't keep up with the number of new trails that are being built, and the quality is just so outrageously high and beautiful that, it's paradise here for a mountain biker. Any level of trail you can just go out and find and have like a great climb, a great descent. You can find something that's low stress or a little more risky, whatever it is. It's like, yeah, I mean, I love the riding here. If I had a choice, I'd be a BC rider for life. And if I didn't have the opportunity to go anywhere else. So
yeah, very cool. So what are you working on for 2020? You got any projects or big goals that you're hoping to accomplish in the next year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I'm in the development of perhaps the most important course that I've developed yet, and it's called Beginner's Blast Off, and that's going to launch in the spring. I'm going to Australia in February to do the filming for it.
Oh, cool.
And get some nice weather. I'll be there for a month. And,
Wow.
So that will be a course that is really crucial for new riders, like anyone new to the sport. They're always making similar mistakes, and they're always having to figure so many things out themselves. And it's like, no, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to rely on your friends and riding buddies to provide you the tips. It's like, no, there's things that work and things that don't. And, this step-by-step course will gradually allow them to unfold a really strong start to their mountain bike career, really confidence inspiring, really safe. Safety is key. And not only that, but encouraging and helping to early on instill the values and standards of relating to the industry in terms of, okay, what are the risk levels that I want to take? What are the products I want to buy? The commercialism aspect, exploring all of these things. Like, if I try to ramp up too quick or do the cool line or impress my friends, the whole ego aspects, that could limit the number of years I can ride. And mountain biking, I believe, should be a lifelong endeavor, something you can do late into your life. And, that's something that I think needs to be encouraged. And I think if those sentiments can be instilled in a course that new riders are engaging with, and even intermediate riders, they're going to be encouraged to go through this course because there's certain key fundamental movement patterns that will be covered that a lot of riders aren't even aware are possible, that are missing in their toolkit. And so it's going to be a review and an intermediate rider kind of test in a way.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about this course. Yeah, it'll be a big course, and it's been a lot of work already, and it's going to be a lot of work to produce. But it's those work and effort that goes into creating a course that I know pays off with such great reviews and feedback from the riders that we get from all our courses.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, Ryan, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us. I know your story is very inspirational to a lot of people, and I know also that your coaching program is something that a lot of people are going to be interested in. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for the great conversation.
Well, you can find out more about the Ryan Leech connection at ryanleech.com, and you can also get more information about Ryan and his career there as well. That's all we've got this week. We'll talk to you again next week.